And Musa Zondi, they're continuing their conversation.
Yeah, but on Saturday we're bringing a big van.
Okay, yeah.
Again, welcome back to everyone. This is Today on eNCA. Dan Moyane, give me a yes or a no. If you can hear me clearly, hopefully it's a yes, Dan. If you can, we'll come back to you on that. But many people beginning to pay their tributes as I wait just to confirm that Dan Moyane can, in fact, hear me. By the way, plenty of coverage it has been for the past few days. We had the official memorial taking place yesterday. Also, the IFP president making a very, very interesting remark while he was continuing to speak to those who had arrived to pay their respects to the late Prince. The IFP leader saying this, in fact, that there are many politicians in our country today who have never served in politics without having known Mangosuthu Buthelezi. That's how long he has been. Around 95 years of age, but 7 decades. Dan Moyane, it is certainly one of the longest running, if not the longest running, MP in our country. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan. Hopefully you can hear me again. Let's come back to you in Ulundi.
Yeah, Gareth, you are really wrong. You're quite correct. Recently, he was the parliamentary elder. He was the eldest and the longest-serving member of Parliament of a democratic South Africa. Quite a long, illustrious political career. And when we lost the connection, the Reverend Musa Zondi, who now heads up the Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi Foundation, was telling us about how they are preserving that legacy and trying to tell his political contribution. But I want to ask this, Reverend Zondi. There's a lot of discussion currently about his contribution because of the past. We have a dark past, we have a past of suffering and pain. How will you as a foundation ensure that we tell his contribution truthfully in a way that heals and builds?
Our focus as the foundation is to keep on telling the story as best as we can, and especially for the benefit of young people, those who were not there, so that if we keep on repeating what we think is the truthful story, answering the questions and the concerns about those other accusations that are leveled against him as much as possible.
Yeah. Sometimes you get the sense that there's a blame game going on. That, for example, Velenkosi Nihlabisa, speaking to my colleague last night on eNCA, JJ Tabane, saying, well, in the KwaZulu-Natal, 20,000 people died,
yes,
and 12,000 of them were IFP members.
Yes.
The rest, 8,000, were ANC members.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of killing. So you can't just blame us, you know. My view is we shouldn't even be talking like that. We should be saying there was conflict that was happening,
yes,
people died, how do we heal? Rather than talking about, it's not only us who killed, they also killed. What do you think?
Well, yes, but the truth of the matter, part of the reconciliation project that we are talking about, when we're talking, I mean, he was praying for reconciliation, he was saying before he closes his eyes and passes on from this world, he wished to see reconciliation between the ANC and the IFP. But let's unpack it. What does it mean?
Yes.
Reconciliation. It doesn't mean to say that ANC and IFP would have to collapse into one organization. But it simply means that where did the issue of insults come from? There is a portion of it that can be traced back to the ANC mission in exile while it still operated in Lusaka. That is what needs to be withdrawn, because if it remains unattended to, it remains a blemish in his life and in his history, and it is not true.
Is there a sense, I mean, you are a senior leader of the IFP, although you are running with the foundation, you headed the youth brigade of the IFP for 13 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Quite a long time, mid-80s to mid-90s. I remember covering stories when you were still the youth brigade.
Yes.
Is there a sense in the IFP that they expect the ANC to apologize, as you said, for these alleged insults from Lusaka?
Well, to set the record straight rather than apologize, because you know political parties
set the record straight.
Just to set the record straight for the sake of posterity.
And will the IFP also be willing to set the record straight on his part?
Indeed, the IFP, because it takes two to tango.
Now, the man who wanted this reconciliation, which you've just unpacked for us, is no more. The current leader is President Velenkosi Mhlabisa, and
Yes.
for other leadership. Do you think they would grab this and run with it in that kind of approach that you are espousing here?
We were encouraged by Deputy President of the ANC, Paul Mashatile, when he came here leading a delegation of the ANC to mourn the passing on of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. He is the one who said, as soon as this is over, he would be approaching the leadership of the IFP in order to revisit and take that one up. We were encouraged by it, even though we regret that if it succeeds, it would happen beyond his lifetime.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you're going to be in coalition with the ANC either.
Well, we can't say. I mean, I can't speak for the IFP
Yes,
as
I
the
know.
foundation, but
Your sense about it.
my sense is that the IFP has always been open-minded about it. It has worked with the IFP, with the ANC before. That remains. There is an open door policy, because there is also the sentiment that, you know, after 1994, we are now in 2023. You see, but the majority of the citizens of this country, most of whom are black Africans, have not really benefited significantly from what happened in 1994.
Do you think we can achieve that development that is missing from what we are saying, and justice? I mean, reconciliation without justice.
No, reconciliation with justice.
With justice.
With justice. The both have got to go hand in hand. We don't want to victimize anybody, but as I said, to set the record straight, that's our main concern now. We're not going to tear pages of whatever has been written about him. Let people go on and read those things, but as long as we provide a proper rebuttal, explanation, and we think that the reconciliation project would be assisted greatly by the ANC setting the record straight.
And do you see a foundation which is named after him playing a role in shaping that story going forward, in setting the record straight, as you said earlier?
Primarily, the foundation has been set up to do that which he can't do for himself in the aftermath of his own
And
life.
what shape does that take, for example? Have you got thoughts about how you're going to do that?
It's programs, it's engagements, it's debates. For example, we are not going to be narrow-minded about it. We're going to get people from various perspectives, come and add these perspectives around, but then continue to say, but this is the truth as the man knew it, and that's how we understood it, so that it becomes educational rather than propagandistic.
Yeah, now, just back to you as we're about to conclude, Reverend Musa Zondi. You were a national youth leader of the ANC, of the IFP for quite a long time.
Yes.
And he was still serving, obviously, as we know, as the president of the IFP.
Yes.
From your perspective, just him as a leader and you as a young person, what resonated with you for you to take that high office and remain committed to the IFP today?
Well, it was his commitment to the very foundations of the struggle for liberation. I mean, when I got involved in the 70s, the eNCA and the ANC were one and the same thing. The only thing that separated us was that others were operating underground and in exile, were operating within the country. So our role was complementary, but things got awfully wrong in the early 1980s. That's where there was a drift apart between the two political organizations.
So now going forward, how are you going to take his legacy forward? Just broadly, you've outlined some of the things you'll be doing as a foundation.
Largely,
Just broadly, yes.
largely it's educational, and we're going to tell the story, preserve the history, make it available in this very homestead where we are. It's full of books, papers and things, some of which are no longer available to the general public. There is a museum that has been set up because they said these books are not the private property of his family. They should be accessible to the public. His private papers, his public speeches, all are going to be available to the public.
Reverend Musa Zondi, thank you very much. Gareth, there you have Reverend Musa Zondi, currently the chairperson of the Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi Foundation, but he also served for 13 years as the leader of the National Brigade, Youth Brigade of the IFP. Now, Spamandla Goge, our senior reporter, is also here at KwaPhindangene. Earlier today, Ncome spoke to Princess Phumzile Buthelezi, the daughter of the late Mangosuthu Buthelezi, and also the great-grandson. He touched on a number of issues. One of them, Spamandla, good evening, I understand you touched on the issue of the IFP leadership and future.
Indeed. Well, she was saying her father was passionate about the IFP as the founder of the IFP. So therefore, you would know that with the demise of the founder of any institution, there will be those who will be worried about the future of any institution, be it a business or political party. Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi had been at the leadership level of the IFP for many years, and therefore many people would be asking themselves what will happen after him. He did hand over the political leadership baton to Velenkosi Mhlabisa, who is the current president of eNCA Freedom Party. So the princess spoke to me, saying to me, well, they will respect the wishes of her late father. But I want us to park that for now, because I've got here Umpiake Buthelezi, Ibamba Mkhosi, Ibamba Bukhosi ngiyaxolisa Shenge ezibamba Bukhosi la kwaButhelezi nesizwe saka Buthelezi. Let's talk about what will happen tomorrow when uShenge umntwana wakaPhindangene comes back home for the final time, for the last time. What are the plans? Ube inkosi yesizwe saka Buthelezi, traditional prime minister to the Zulu king and the nation. Surely amabutho nezinduna will be there.
Yes, unfortunately tomorrow will be a very big function, because all of Amabutho will go in there to the, what do you call, a funeral parlor in the mortuary, in any case, to go and collect his body up to here. And even this side, you will have some other Amabutho also receiving him in at the gate. Usually we have got people who are doing the prose from there in the mortuary. As we as the black people, sorry to using that words, we as an African people, we go to talk to him and tell him that we're coming from there, we're going to home now. As usually when he's leaving his home, we told him that we go to put that in the mortuary. Unfortunately, from tomorrow, we're expecting a huge of Amabutho, which were coming here from Durban as well as in Joburg, started from tomorrow morning to be here.
Inqubo yakwaButhelezi ngokwemkhuba yakwaButhelezi nangokwesiko lakaButhelezi ibekwa kanjani, ikhwezwa kanjani inkosi yakwaButhelezi?
Unfortunately, let me discuss in our vernacular language. Ngokujwayelekile inkosi ma ifihlwa izofika la iyemukele esangweni ngehubo lakwaButhelezi, which is a national anthem of Buthelezi clan, and we're going in where we keep him in the body, in his body, in the room together with the people of Buthelezi. Ngenkathi ke mase kufikwa lapha endlini kuyahlaliwa khona, kube kukhona amaprose, kushiwe ibongo zenkosi, kubongo ubabamkhulu, uqalwa nqengelele kuze kumnyamane, kusuke kumnyamane kuze kutshanibezwe, sekutshanibezwe kuze kumathole, sekumathole kuze kuyinkosi uqobo. Ilokhu ibongwe njalo inkosi le iziyongena endlini. Lokho ngokwesintu sethu, njengoba kwaziwa ukuthi ma kuhamba inkosi akukhalwa kakhulu, kuyaye kuthiwe isizwe kuze singathambi akuhlatshelelwe amahubo kusizwe singayitholi sesithambile, kusino kwenziwa yonke into le, kobe kwenziwa imikhuba njengaleyo ke. Uma ke sifika lapha ke kukhona njalo lokho emkhulumise njalo uShenge emtshenta ukwenzakalani, uthi manje sesingena ekhaya, sesiyangena endlini, uma sekuphuma thina njengabantu abangamaKristu okunye sizokwenza yikuthi ngenkathi sesimthatha ke ngelanga la ngeSabatha sobe sesingena ke futhi endlini siqhalela befundisi bethu ukuthandathandaza, mabe bethu ukuthandaza ke bese kukhuluma ke futhi okukhulumayo okusho ukuthi Shenge sahamba namasondo
Okay, no, it's fine. I wanted to get this last part because I see you had a meeting now with Prince Uzuzi Funtutugo Yesizwe and members of the South African National Defence Force. Talk to us about the preparations and the meeting, because I'm sure you'll have to balance between the state, the Buthelezi clan and the Buthelezi family. It's going to be a difficult one to coordinate.
Okay. Uma ke kusuka ngale ndlela lapho ozobe kugonqelwe khona kuziwa egate. So timase sifika khona sime nekubo lokobuthelezi bese simnikezela amasotsha ke bese mgoqa ke njalo awuthuma emgoqa ngengubo le national flag abese ke mthatha emfaka ke kuyihash yamasotsha hambe njalo naye aye stadium kodwa mase fika ke kanjalo stadium mayesebuya bakubize ngokuthi ke lento edubulayo bobe bemgibeze khona angikwazi ke nami igama lakho thini bobe bemgibeze khona bemletha bese bembuyisa kanjalo noma sebuya nanka amasotsha ayobe sebuya nawo mase kufikwa ke la sivumelane ngokuthi kobe ke sesehliswa ngamasotsha aqede konke athi mayese sehlileke asuka amasotsha bese senza imikhuba yakwabuthelezi.
Sheng, siyathokoza kakhulu, sikubone kusasa Sheng. Siyathokoza. Thank you very much. Ibamba because lakwaButhelezi, they're basically outlining the process to us, what will be unfolding. So he says it will be led by the Buthelezi family and the Buthelezi clan. They will do what they have to do traditionally and culturally. When they go to fetch the body from the mortuary coming to the homestead, the Buthelezi clan and family will be leading that process. On Saturday, which will be the special official funeral category 1, there will be that aspect of it. When the body leaves home, it will be then carried away and led by members of the army. As we know that the late founder of the IFP has been granted special official funeral category 1 with all the military honors. So Ibamba Bukhosi lakwaButhelezi, the acting Inkosi. Perhaps allow me to unpack why he is Ibamba Bukhosi. Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was Inkosi of the Buthelezi clan, but he was busy with his political work. He used to get people to act on his behalf. Before Ibamba Bukhosi lakwaButhelezi elkhona njengamanje, there was Mr. Mtshali, who was the acting Inkosi of the Buthelezi clan. But surely after the demise of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, there will be that debate about succession of what will happen to Inkosi of the Buthelezi clan. There is Prince Zuzifa, who many people are tipping to take over. But that discussion will ensue after Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi has been laid to rest. Let's take a listen to what Princess Phumzile told me about the future of the IFP and the role that the role that her father played. Let's take a listen.
We are so devastated, we don't know. We are looking forward. We are just hoping, because he used his wisdom at the conference, because there were camps. We know when there are elections, some want to elect Phumzile, some want to voice Tole. So he decided as an elder that no, President Hlabisa will be a president. He mustn't be contested. Because Mzamo, what kaza bungahambi kakhulu nama, nothing we have left. I can't say just as said. We will remain a deputy president. They mustn't be contested. He tried to be a peace, kungabi drama. And we thought really, even now, I still think he chose the right person. President Hlabisa has been a IFP even at a university. It's not a just Johnny come late. My mother used to say Johnny come late. So we are very grateful. We just hope we'll all do father's wish to be together and follow behind President Nkosi Hlabisa, who is so far is a suitable candidate as father chose him.
Okay. Well, brother, allow me to pick it up from you. I've spotted Umntwana uTutu Buthelezi, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi's son. Can we get your reflections on the passing of your father? I don't want to delve into family politics. I know you had strained relations with him, but he's no more. Let's talk about him. I'll hold it for you, Sheikh.
Sife olwembiza kuyibili inqolobana ebekade siphila kuyona, inqolobana yolwazi, inqolobana injula buchopho ebekade siphila iSouth Africa yonke, uZulu noma usiyena umZulu noma uhlobo luni, kodwa bekwemukela ngendlela dangenhlonipho nangesizotha. So sonke siyalila, siyakhala kodwa ke sithi uNkulunkulu umphile insuku, siyabonga kukho konke asenzele khona ube yifa lethu eyifa lesizwe eyifa le South Africa yonke jikelele.
Enikufundile kuyena njengobaba wenu kuphi?
Okokuqala nje inhlonipho, ukuhlonipha omunye umuntu, inhlonipho nje into yokuqala ukuthi wazisa abanye abantu, uhlonipha abanye abantu, uzihloniphe wena qobo. Yeah.
That is Prince Tutu Buthelezi. Prince Tutu Buthelezi is Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi's son. Of course, it's an open secret that he had some difficulties with his father. They did not see eye to eye because of politics and other family dynamics. He ended up ditching the IFP, joining the ANC and the National Freedom Party in the past. But death has brought him back home, as he has reflected on the passing of his father, saying he learned a lot from him, including the issue of respect, the issue of ensuring that one respects him or herself, but also other people as well. He says it's quite a blow to the Zulu nation, to the Buthelezi family and the Buthelezi clan that Prince Mangosuthu is no more. But he says he's grateful because his father was able to live for a very long time, 95 years.
Yeah, indeed.
Those were two things which were really troubling him, because for many years, back about 3 aside, Reverend CJ 3 aside, one you were 6 aside, we are born as this thing kept on going. I remember when he even went abroad with the 16th delegation for Reverend Zod, were also amongst those who went to organize or Artambo. But really. But what is strange, we used to discuss with him. Sometimes we will sit together in the kitchen until about 3 o'clock in the morning. As a sugumuma, good night, pizza. My nickname, say so Lala Sheng. As Mvalilisa started discussing both of us about these things which he's worried about. The reconciliation between IFP and ANC. The problems in the royal family, which is affecting the whole Zulu nation at the end. Those were the two things which were really affecting him. He said, I'll die at peace if this reconciliation can be solved, but it was not to be. And what I can really thank the ANC nationally, they are completely different from those who are in the KZN. Completely different. The problem is here with us. About Mzala region, Ngumalu wrote a book saying father was signing with a blood, his pen was full of blood. Yeah. He has never, not even once advised people to go and kill people. And people are defending themselves. More than 20 leaders of us in the IFP passed on.
You know, Spamanda, as we conclude, I mean, you've covered the political stories of this country for quite some time, Ngome. That comment where that Princess Phumzile Buthelezi says that the problem, in her view, is not national, but is provincial, is quite telling. I wonder really how that is going to be received by the leaders of the two organizations who have promised in public since the passing of Ushenge that they are going to pursue the reconciliation.
It's going to be a difficult one. Allow me to go back a little bit. I will try to be very brief here. In terms of context, the main reason Princess Phumzile is saying the national leadership of the ANC was open to the idea of reconciliation. Even the provincial leadership of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal agrees. But, you know, the late Prince of Wapindangene spoke about this reconciliation to former President Thabo Mbeki, former President Kgalema Motlanthe, former President Jacob Zuma, and the current President Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, both in their capacities as head of state, but also ANC leaders. Of course, Kgalema Motlanthe was the deputy president of the ANC, but he knows about this. So the Prince of Wapindangene did reach out to them to say, yes, things happened in the past. Both the ANC and the IFP, the issue of political violence, pre-1994, people died. Let's sit down and talk. But his idea of reconciliation was that of saying, remember how the IFP was formed. I was given instructions to form the IFP as basically what I will call a decoy party. I was given political blessings by the ANC leadership to form this party as a front organization and operate within the borders of South Africa. But things went south along the way. So he felt betrayed that they gave him a political mandate. He executed it. He alleges that they dumped him along the way. And when it was time to reconcile, it was too late. So he had always told the national leadership of the ANC that before I die, let's sit down and talk about this thing. He, in fact, told me that his desire was that at some point a painful but necessary decision will have to be taken of merging the ANC and the IFP, of becoming one political party, because he said to me, Ncome, we are one family, so therefore it makes sense that we are reunited as both the ANC and the IFP, as Bongamkize is showing you preparations that are underway here. And I think that is in Ndlulamith, Giraffe, if I'm not mistaken. A lot is happening here. There's been a giraffe that I think 2 giraffes are brought here. You know, there is a lot of meat that is being served here, as thousands and thousands of mourners and people who come here to pay their respects continue to flock to KwaPhindangene. So you will not be surprised to see as Mvelo Wildlife, you know, bringing some meat here, bringing some animals that have been slaughtered. Bonga is showing you giraffes, and those will be prepared. The meat will be prepared for mourners that are coming. There are other animals that have been slaughtered that will be served to the mourners and those who are coming to pay their respects. Let's go back to that point about politics. So the provincial leadership of the ANC in principle agrees that this reconciliation has to take place, and that process, by the way, started for a very long time. Even when Sbu Ndebele was still the chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, Dr. Zweli Mkhize became the chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. He was part of the 3-a-side, 5-a-side between the ANC and the IFP that were dealing with the issue of trying to find reconciliation and unity among and between the IFP and the ANC. But one would say it appears that what has been causing this slow pace has been the issue of terms and conditions that were put up by the Prince of KwaPhindangene. One of them being that the ANC needed to rewrite history in a way, because he said they vilified him, they spread propaganda about him. He wanted them to set the record straight. According to him, he said they must tell the accurate history of this country and his contribution to the political struggle of South Africa. And I guess that's where it took a delay, because those of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal were of the view that, but you can't rewrite history. Things happened in the past, you cannot rewrite history, and that's what has been causing a delay. And one of the terms and conditions were that the ANC needed, I don't know how that was going to work, but needed to distance itself from the book by nobleman Mzala Nxumalo that was written about Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi Ugatsha, the chief with a double agenda. He did not take kindly to that book. He said it was the propaganda of the ANC, and therefore he wanted the ANC to publicly distance itself from that book. And those who are familiar with the political history will know nobleman Mzala Nxumalo's contribution and role in politics and his credentials within the ANC and the SACP. So therefore, those are some of the contributions, or rather the terms and conditions, that the Prince of KwaPhindangene wanted to be the starting point, eventually leading to this reconciliation. However, he has had to pass on without that being resolved. Siboniso Duma, who's the chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, told me that they will pursue that project. Dr. Zweli Mkhize, former chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, who's the member of the National Executive Committee of the governing African National Congress, came here to pay his last respects. I asked him about that point. He conceded that it has taken a long time, there's been a delay, but they are going to pursue it in honor of Shenge's legacy. Yesterday, the chief whip of the majority party in parliament, that is Phemi Majodina, who is also the member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, conceded to me that this has taken a long time, but they are going to address it. Basically, those are the views of ANC leaders in KwaZulu-Natal and nationally, including their president, Paul Mashatile, who says the issue of reconciliation between the ANC and the IFP will be prioritized. It will be taken further. However, talk is something else, action is something else. We'll have to wait and see what happens after Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi has been laid to rest, whether these two political parties will meet and finally discuss this long-standing issue which pained and hurt the departed leader of the IFP.
Thank you very much, Spamandla Gog and Ngome. We'll leave it there for now because we have another guest now here on today, as we're in the last half hour of this edition of today from Kwapindangene here, the home of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. A lot to be discussing. I'm joined now by Dr. Beguyise Buthelezi. Shenge, good evening. Welcome to today. Thank you very much for your time. Now, it's been a very long day for you as a family, and just tell us the high level. What have you been busy with as a family today? You did ask for this space to be granted to you so that you can start focusing on those traditional rituals that are necessary ahead of the special official funeral on Saturday.
Good evening to you viewers, and thank you for the condolences. Yes, it's been almost one of the busiest days of the week in preparation for the funeral on Saturday. But I think the main task has been coordinating the activities of the family and the activities of government. As you are aware, that a marquee or a dome has been set up at the stadium, which was used for the memorial service, and there are a lot of task teams that are working around that to make sure that everything runs smoothly. There are also preparations at the cemetery for the body when it comes back tomorrow, and for burial on Saturday.
Okay,
so those have been the main.
The body is coming back tomorrow, is going to come home. Any times that you've settled on as a family?
Family will finalize that tonight, but then, so we wouldn't like to give the details, but certainly tomorrow, and it definitely will be after midday.
My understanding is that the first part of this will be the family, including even ahead of the special official funeral. The family will do its part, and the Buthelezi clan. I mean, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi Inkosi yaka Buthelezi, and that has to happen before you hand over to the official side of things. Is that a correct understanding?
It is correct, Braden, but that is for Saturday.
Yes. For Saturday.
Oh, yes. For Saturday, I think understanding that has been reached to make sure that everybody is well accommodated. That is the Buthelezi family, the clan, and the local community, and the official funeral. As you know, that this is Category 1 state funeral. Was that there would be Part A and Part B, and Part A will be the family activities, and then after that we will give over to the state to go on with their activities.
Part A and B will both take place at the Prince Mangosuthu Memorial Stadium?
It's difficult to be as crisp as that, but yes, but the big part of the family activities that will take place at the stadium will be part of Part A. But remember that in the morning, there are a lot of activities that the families
will also be doing privately,
in the homestead, yes. But I think the other helpful maybe description is that the official will start outside the gate. So the activities that will happen. So
once the family is done in the morning, it will hand over really for the part B, which is official part to the stadium.
Like I said, it's difficult to prescribe that, but Part B is official, Part A is family. Thank you.
Some overall understanding. And today the family was like day one of the family being given space. I mean, it was quieter here than normal. There were people coming, but it was not like the last few days when there were many more people coming here. Tomorrow is another day. Are there special occasions being planned by the family for Friday?
Yes, there are. But I think, Mr. Moyane, the importance of the message that you are conveying and that what you would like to convey is that from tonight, really, going forward, the family takes over. It's an instructive request in the sense that all this time, Mntwana Wapindangene belonged to South Africa and the people. In fact, since 1953. So the request is that from tonight, just for one day, 24 hours, give family the space for it to conduct its activities, and let's all take the instructions from the family on how we proceed until Saturday morning when the ceremonies for the funeral start.
So there's going to be quite a number of, let's call them rituals or practices that the family will be doing tomorrow in private, and you are asking for that space completely, even from government.
Even from government, Braden, that is true, but the best thing to do, I think, is that people should communicate with the family if there are activities they would like to do tomorrow. For example, if there are mourners that are feeling left out for whatever reason, yes, speak to the family, that the family will give you
central from tonight until Saturday morning.
give you guidance. That's why I said it's an instructive request. But I think, Praten, if you allow me, there is a lot of hype and activity in the media as well, and that is understandable as well, because Umntwana Pindangen, as I said, belong to everybody. The South Africans, the continent, and the globe. But in the media space specifically, there has been a lot of intellectual activity, which sometimes is very fascinating.
A lot of analysis, we've discussed it as well.
Yes. So this instructive request covered that space as well. Let me put it this way, Praten. Ngesintu, usuku lapho ukuzotha is at its peak. And I want to give the reason, Praten. It's not that you want to restrain the analysts, or ngeke, as Umntwana used to call them, but we want to be exemplary to the next generation. Life is a very precious issue, and the sanctity of life is something that we take very seriously. On the last day before the body is put to the ground, especially of an eNCA, we would like the generations after us and those that will come after them to learn how this is done. And one of the things that is conducted throughout Africa is that the respect is at its utmost on that particular day, which is the day before the funeral. So we practice this, and we request the analysts and other people who will feel like, exchanging views, that for tomorrow, please give Umntwana and his legacy back to the family. Take the instructions from the family just for one day, 24 hours. And then after that, the activities, I think, can continue. As I say, the reason is just that we really want to be exemplary to the children, to our next generation, of how important life is. The sanctity of life can only be demonstrated under these circumstances, so that people know that it's not acceptable, for example, to take life unwittingly, and this is the time when I think children can learn that respect.
You make a very important point in my view, because we forget, and sometimes I also forget, that he was not just a political leader. From what you are saying, the family is appealing. He was eNCA. He was a prince of Buthelezi clan. And Buthelezi clan wants its moment of peace and calm and respect as well ahead of it, okay? But we also know that we also have to balance the fact that he was a political leader. But you've made the appeal, and we understand. So the family then, as it heads into this, and yourselves, into this last very solemn moment, as you said, of bidding farewell to eNkosi Buthelezi, the family is asking for that space. But what are the key practices that the family will be doing? Can you share some of them with us?
Yes, Praten. I think the first one, as I say, that is to show utmost respect. In fact, in the olden days, even the levels of noise go down. The way people speak becomes different. The activities that people would normally do in their everyday life, they stop completely. Nobody comes back late in the evening in those days. But the essence, I think, of the message is that utmost respect is one of the practices. And secondly, Praten, remember that tomorrow we'll be receiving the body. And that is another very important activity. I will not go into the details of what exactly happened step by step, but the culmination is the receiving of the body by the family.
That will be in the afternoon, more or less?
Like I said, that probably after midday, but we haven't set the time yet. But that activity also is very solemn for the reasons that we have put there, that Umntwana Pindangene was an eNkosi, and there are special practices that go with someone of that status.
Okay, so that should be for tomorrow. So mostly it's going to be a solemn day for the family, as you've said, and you are requesting that we should respect that as well. Now,
because there are activities that are conducted in the evening. He was a devout Christian, as you know, and there are very special services that get conducted also in those in that time. And I think, in my view, it's a smooth transition of the activities there, because I'm sure the bishops and the pastors, we really would like it to be a very peaceful activity that is from local community and all the people that will be here.
Yeah, the Anglican Church will play a role. I mean, we understand he was a worshipper at a local Anglican parish. Yeah. So now, as you look back currently, as you are preparing for Saturday, in that solemn transition you are talking about for tomorrow, and you look back at this past week, and the kind of messages and the outpouring of condolences that the family has received, how is the family feeling today, just broadly?
Braden, I think in the memorial service, most speakers, and especially the family members, did express the gratefulness to South Africans, to his political colleagues, to the media, and to local communities, because the messages have been outpouring. And in fact, it's been a while since one has seen so much love from different people, including you, Pratt. And here we are sitting at Kwapinda again, not in the studio. You know, part of it really is to pay the respect. I don't think that you had nothing to do. Your diaries are full every day, as people know, but you stopped that, came here, paid your respect, and here we are sharing information. So that is a demonstration of the love that we are seeing here at Kwapinda, and that has been going on throughout the week, which we appreciate very much. So in summary, the family is overwhelmed by this love that has been shown, and we hope South Africans will also show this love to other families.
Shenge, thank you very much for your time in this busy day as you prepare for the solemn day ahead, as you've expressed. And once more, we express our condolences to you and the family, and wish you well as you finalize the preparation from a family perspective. The official side, of course, will also get more details, I guess, from the presidency as the day goes on tomorrow. Thank you very much.
And we thank you very much. There's an activity, a small one that we do, Praten, if you don't mind, we stand up.
Yes.
And we say, Shenge. Swalisa. Vulane. Dabezita. Thank you, Praten. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
There you have it there, Gareth. A salute to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi in the tradition of the family of Shenge, ending our crossing, our live update here from Kwapinda, the home of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who passed away last week at the age of 95. We've heard from the family now, Dr. Beguyise Buthelezi, appealing that they need respect tomorrow. It's going to be a solemn day, a day just before the burial, the final send-off of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Well, that's it from us here. Gareth Kwapinda will be back, of course, here tomorrow, and there's also many other places where we'll be following this tomorrow. The afternoon is going to be particularly important. Sometime after midday, the body of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi will make its way from where it is currently being looked after in a mortuary by undertakers, coming here home for a special solemn service. And I'm sure we'll bring that process live to our viewers. And while we understand the respect that they are appealing for, we've covered other funerals before here on eNCA. I'm sure we'll be guided accordingly. Over to you, Gareth.